As executives, we look at profit and loss, we look at quotas, we look at all these things that are all traveling towards how are we doing this quarter? How are we doing next quarter? So knowing that that's the world business works in,
Yeah.
right? And knowing that there's limited amount that can affect change if there's not a sponsor, if there's not a hero for what we're trying to do up above us.
Yeah.
Do we just need to get more metric driven? There's a lot of metrics that do support what we're doing, right? There's a lot of things that we can say, hey, we help product development not go down a path, right? Like how much sunk costs are we saving because we didn't go down that path? There is a business case to be made. Do we just need to make more business cases? Is
Yeah.
that what it takes? Or I don't know. What is it?
I'm so glad you asked, Steve. This is the world that I've been living in, especially in recent months, as I've really been trying to understand the enterprise-wide customer experience problem. Where is it falling short? Where is it succeeding? And what I've found in terms of where it falls short most often and what organizations need to do differently to break the paradigm, get more mind share inside of the business, and ultimately drive more change isn't a matter of focusing on more things. It's figuring out where are the few things that, if focused on, have exponential impact on the business. Right. The problem's not a lack of data. It's not a lack of stakeholders who are interested in improving customer experience. It's where do we focus? Where do we focus that, if focused there, has maximum impact? And the metric, the idea that I've really landed on and seen prove out with the organizations is something that I've called value force multipliers. Value force multipliers for me, they're the high impact things that create kind of outsized value for the business, for the customers. Think of it as the 20% that, if done, affect 80% of results. Basic Pareto principle, right? I'll give you an example of that, and then we can ask away whatever you want on there. But I was talking to a buddy of mine, and he runs customer and technical support for a drone manufacturer. And he was saying to me, Justin, do you have any idea the number one reason why people contact our business? I was like, no, I don't. Like flyaway drones. It's like people get these things up, and away they go. He said, do you know what my obligation is to that customer when they call me with a flyaway drone? I said, what's your obligation? He said, too bad, so sad. Do you want to buy a new one? Did they want to buy a new one? No, of course they didn't want to buy a new one. But this is what his reps were doing. I apologize that the wind took your drone away and that you can't locate it. I can offer you a disc. Here's a 10% coupon, right? It's like, that's the strategy. He was intimately familiar with the flyaway drone problem. And all day, every day, his agents were focused on one of two things. How do we spend as little time as possible on the phone with flyaway drone customers? Because in most cases, they're not going to turn into additional revenue. And for the few that will, can we capture the sale right then and there? That's it. He had gotten invited to a meeting that was around the consumable sales numbers. Consumables are things like batteries, replacement blades, things like that. Cross-functional group got together to just talk about why numbers weren't where they had thought they would be. He's a bit of a smart aleck, and he said it's because nobody owns these things long enough to need any of that stuff. People around the room were like, what are you talking about? Everybody else in the contact center had no idea the number one reason why people called was flyaway drones. And so in this unrelated meeting, the flyaway drone topic gets to be the point of conversation. And they're asking, well, what would it mean for us to tackle flyaway drones? Can we change packaging? Can we change instructions? Like, how do we make this easier? And by pulling the right group of cross-functional people that could go after this targeted specific pain point, flyaway drones, they took data, they said, how do we turn this into action and how do we drive business impact? Once they changed packaging and some other things, over the course of about 6 months, they start to see a drop, ultimately became about a 50% reduction in flyaway drone calls, number one. That reduction alone was a great savings to the business. But the bi-directional shift that happened is now that people were able to fly their drones, they were posting videos on social media. Word of mouth marketing was driving more business for them. Customers were buying additional products and consumables were lifting. That's a great example of a value force multiplier, because he was taking a problem that existed in one part of the business that was insulated. Nobody else knew that it existed. More importantly, nobody else realized all of the impact that it could have beyond the contact center if addressed. And so value force multipliers are about identifying those key pain points, getting to the root cause, figuring out low effort, high impact type of efforts. Do we have the right people together? And then can we communicate how this is actually driving revenue growth, cost savings, customer loyalty, right? The things that are business of the business kind of metrics.